Yo, welcome in, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Fantasy Effect. We got some good, bad, and ugly prospects to go over today. We also got some coaching news. Some of that, I think, good, bad, and ugly can describe the coaching hires as well. A little bit of news. Man, speaking of ugly, I saw the little intro play in the JJ McCarthy thing. That one did not age well, unfortunately. That aged very poorly for you and me.
Oh yeah, we got just destroyed by that one. I saw that and I was like, I definitely between now and next week, I need a
We
new
need a new
intro.
one.
Yeah, I'm not picking rookies anymore to do something crazy. It's just I think we got spoiled a bit, and I think it's going to taper off a little bit more just because of the landscape of college. I feel like people are going to stay a little bit
Yeah,
longer, and they might make that wrong decision. So
that's that's the thing too. I noticed there's a lot of discourse about like the 2026 classes. Like we're not getting as many quarterback prospects as we thought. Some of that is just like guys are going back to school, and there's no guarantee that there's a bit of a disconnect from like where quarterbacks were coming out as like juniors and now they're coming back for their senior year. So we kind of have like a gap year. And I think that's kind of where we're at, where now it's like we have Mendoza, we have Ty Simpson, who we're going to talk about tonight. But then like there's a bunch of guys that would rather go back to school. Like, dude, that like who is it? Joey Aguilar for the Tennessee for the Volunteers, right? He's soon to go back for his 8th season of college football. He was in the same high school recruiting class as Kyron Williams,
insane.
who is now like what 4 or 5 years in the NFL, which is just wild to me. That like this is the thing. This is the world we live in now, where like kids are going to school
Yeah,
for
and
6 to
a,
8 years.
a really good example. I think Drew Allard would have made maybe the back end of the first last year,
Oh,
or
I think the Browns are going to take
you
him at
know,
3, dude.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and most people wanted him to go back to school and have another year, and he got injured. Right? I don't know if he would have done better this year. I mean, he started out okay, but
yeah,
he got injured pretty early,
rough.
right? And
Yeah,
then that just derailed everything. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the 5th, 6th, 7th round now, right?
yeah.
And you're not even a guy that I'm unfortunately I have a lot of Devy shares, but not somebody I'm really going to look at in the rookie draft either. So
Oh, yeah.
uh, yes, they might be going back to school and getting a lot of money, but I think it's 50-50 if they're making the right decision, in my opinion.
I mean, I didn't really plan on discussing it, but yeah, dude, like some of these guys going back to school, like half of them end up sucking, and they don't
Yeah.
end up being like we're talking about like everyone's looking forward to Arch Manning and Dante Moore next year. There's no guarantee that both of them are going to be good next year. Dante Moore had some warts in his game. He's like a 1-year starter basically. Arch Manning was mostly bad. He got a little bit better towards the end of the year, but some of it was just like his receivers bailed him out on like 80-yard screen passes they took to the house. And it's like he didn't really look all that great, in my opinion. But because he's a guy too. I don't want to dump on Arch Manning, but like if you took the name off the back of the jersey and just watched the
Yeah.
player, he shouldn't have been a 5-star recruit. He played in the middle of BFE, right? Where he's just like played against like not college athletes. And then he's playing at Texas and he hasn't looked that great, but he has the Manning name and he's going to be drafted. So I don't know.
I
It's what it is.
That one I think he'll be all right. I mean, I need to see a little bit more, but that we'll have plenty of time to digest that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
to kind of loop this into more of like rookies, I just think we've been spoiled the last couple of years, and
Mhm.
it was the last tail end of like not as much NLI, and so I just think that landscape has totally changed, right? So the top guys are obviously going to always go out, like a Jeremiah Love, and a couple other guys
Sure.
below him. But after that, I think we're going to see a lot more coin flips of like, ooh, I think this guy could either go 106 all the way to like 206. It just really depends on draft capital and what team he lands on.
No, for sure. I think this like I think we were chatting about it in the Discord the other day, but like there right now there's 4 players that I feel really good about of like these
Yeah.
are like great talents. I feel great drafting them. After that, it's like it's a crapshoot. It's like I like some of these guys, I don't like some of the other ones. It's really just gonna depend on where they go. And so I feel there's a lot more uncertainty with this year's class than there was like
Yes.
last year, where it was like there's a bunch of guys. I'm sure some will rise and fall. I'm not worried about it. This year, it's just like, dude, I don't like if you have like the 105, 106, 107, it's like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm going to do with some of these picks, dude. Like, I'm a little nervous, but we'll get there.
The fun part is that the people that do a little more research will get rewarded, I feel,
Yes.
right? So it's harder for you to just jump in and watch, watch or even, look a little bit up and just go off of what you know from the draft. I think there's going to be more to it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people that play Dynasty don't spend time researching the prospects. They just kind of go off of draft capital, or they're like, hey, the Chiefs
Yeah.
drafted this wide receiver, he's going to be good, or some of that kind of thing. And I think that's where you can get in trouble. So stay with us. We'll give
It's
you
just like
we'll give you
anything,
more. Yeah,
stats only can only go so far.
for sure. Speaking of stats, let's start. Well, we'll start with the head coach first. Mike LaFleur. I'll try to stay positive. Mike
That one's, I think, is
LaFleur.
good.
I think so too. He signed as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, so now there's only one head coaching job available. It's my Las Vegas Raiders. That one I think is just waiting until the Super Bowl's over and Clint Kubiak will sign the deal. We'll cover that when he signs. Hopefully he signs. Michael Floor, a little bit about his coaching backstory. So he was the offensive coordinator for the Jets in 2021 and 2022 under Robert Saleh. He's been in Los Angeles for your Rams the last 3 seasons under Sean McVay. Obviously wasn't calling the plays. McVay was. But now he gets another crack as a head coach. A crack as a head coach. He's also the younger brother of Green Bay Packers coach Matt LaFleur. Did I mix up the names? Anyways,
I think you did.
I think I did too. Anyways, Mike LaFleur is the Arizona Cardinals one. A little side note, I know people remember his time as the Jets and think it was a disaster. I was kind of curious to look and see. Actually, so he was the play caller in 2022. That season is actually the best offensive statistical season they've had since 2015, and that was with Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson at quarterback. They were 18th and like 17th in yards and points, which is crazy. That was like the best they've done in a decade, but that was him. What are your thoughts here on LaFleur, on the offense in Arizona? Are you excited for some of the fantasy pieces? Nervous? A little bit of both.
I'm honestly a little more excited, right? I think he is obviously learning under Sean McVay. You're not calling the plays, but he's still got a hand in it, right? And I think this might mean that Kyler won't be there for too long, because I don't think he'll take his, lack of work ethic and things like that, right? He's getting the polar opposite. He was just working with Matthew Stafford. I know he's one of a kind, but I just don't think that Sean McVay tree, they're not going to take that, mindset and that work ethic. But I do think it's going to be pretty good for obviously our, Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison Jr., I still, I believe in him, but there's still some question marks there, right? So the biggest thing is I'm just, I still think Trey McBride's going to be the focal point, still tight end 1 in my opinion. And I think this just kind of solidifies that. So I do think, if you look at all the coaches underneath Sean McVay, they've gone on and done quite a lot of good things, right? So it may take a little time, but I do think there's good days ahead for McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr.
It's crazy that like Sean McVay hasn't been in the league all that long. He's been a coach for
10 years,
9 years, 10 years, something like that. And he already has a crazy coaching tree, like longer than some guys who have been in the NFL like decades. With LaFleur and the whole Shanahan tree, and like some of those guys that have branched off. Just looking up, the Cardinals have about $42 million in cap space. So they could move on from Kyler and try to get something else there too. Part of me is conflicted when I heard that LaFleur's coming in. Like I can see one, like you mentioned, they don't want to deal with Kyler. He has some immaturity issues. He's got some, whatever. But part of me too is he spent his time in New York with Zach Wilson, and he knows what it's like to have a crappy quarterback. Is he gonna just try to figure out maybe he can fix Kyler Murray, sort of a thing, and be like, at least I know this dude can play somewhat. Maybe he has some off the field issues. Maybe we can sort through it. Because that really hindered his offense, right? Like when you have a bad quarterback, you can't run a competent offense. It's just not feasible. So, Yeah, I'm conflicted. Part of me kind of feels like Kyler might come back, but
Yeah.
I also get that point too, where it's like you need someone disciplined in this offense. It's not like a simple offense. It's a fairly complex offense. I feel like, and so you need someone who's going to put the work in, right? And I don't know if Kyler's up to
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I think it's, he's the guy that could do it. I just don't know if even if you put the best, coach of all time, I just don't know if Kyler's going to be able to do it. I think they like that
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, a good hire for Arizona, right? I think they have other issues as well, though, right? Starting with the quarterback.
Mm.
So we will see.
We will see. Speaking of, okay, so he hired Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator. I don't think that's too much of. I don't. I mean, you kind of got some chuckles on Twitter because Nathaniel Hackett's kind of not great. I
Is
don't really think it's.
is
Sorry, go
Aaron
ahead.
Rodgers going to be going to there as well now? Holy
I mean,
moly!
hell,
I
maybe.
I've had a
Uh,
busy week and I did not notice that, and
yeah, that just
I
happened
would
just
have.
today.
Okay. So I might not. Okay, I'm a little less excited now than what I
But
was when I first, because I didn't know. But he's a
so
fine offensive coordinator.
and here's the thing: he's not going to call plays, right? So he's just gonna kind of be there as like, and I think it's more, he worked with LaFleur's brother in Green Bay.
Yes.
He's been around the league a long time. I think it's more of like here's like a veteran coach that can kind of help, a first time head coach kind of run a team. I think it's
What not
more
to do?
the thing than it is like a we're getting you here for a scheme thing. Like I think LaFleur's like, no, I got this. I got the X's and O's. I got the play calling. You're
Yeah,
just kind of here to help me. Um,
I got you.
the New York teams, dude, I said this in the Discord the other day, but I was like, after the 2 hires, I was like, maybe I'll just pretend like New York doesn't have any football teams and there's just a 30-team league, and I'll just
Yeah.
ignore the fantasy assets there. Matt Nagy's going to the Giants, and then Frank Reich is the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. Both of these are very like lackluster hires. I feel like I was pretty excited about the Giants with Harbaugh,
Hmm.
and I thought he was going to put together a good staff. Matt Nagy's been terrible, dude. So like, just all of his offenses have been bad. He didn't call plays under Andy Reid. The offense wasn't good. I know he was kind of had an input there. He's never had a very good run game whenever he's been the offensive coordinator. He was the OC, or sorry, he was the head coach in Chicago when they drafted Mitch Trubisky. They had that one good year, but that was really mostly the defense that led
Yep.
them there. The offenses were pretty bad the 3 or 4 years he was in Chicago. This is so uninspiring for the Giants. Like I just today I went through my rankings. I bumped Scatabo down. I didn't bump Neighbors down because I think he's just a
Yeah.
player he'll be fine. But like Jackson Dart, I moved him down to tier 2. Like, dude, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about a lot of these Giants not named Malik Neighbors. What are your thoughts?
Agree 100%, right? John Harbaugh does not typically call plays on the offensive defensive side, right? We talked about it when he got hired. He's more of that
Mm-hmm.
game manager and just the face of the organization, right? And so
Yeah.
I was really looking to see who he picked, because I felt like, it could go obviously great or bad, right? And because
Mm-hmm.
that offensive coordinator is going to be the one calling the plays and et cetera, right? So we know Matt Nagy has not been great. So that's spot on. I would be dropping my guys as well. Like I know Jackson Dart was rising up quite a bit,
Yeah.
but I
Little bit of
I put the brakes on that, right? I still think he is a top 10, maybe 9, 10, right? Just because he can run, and that's gold in fantasy. But I'm not gonna buy like I'm really hoping not to do startups, but if I do, I'm gonna avoid these off like Giants, Jets. Like I think you put it down here already. Like I'm worried about Garrett Wilson, and mainly because we don't know who's coaching, or excuse me,
yeah.
we don't know who's going to be the quarterback. But still, like both of these hires are just question marks,
They
right? Head
didn't make
scratchers,
sense.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and so we will see. But yeah, I agree with Neighbors. I think he's a good enough player to it's not going to really matter. But
Yeah.
Scatabo, I worry about him.
Scatterbo makes me nervous just because Matt Nagy's offenses have never really, established a good run. The Giants don't exactly have a great offensive line. There's a lot of things that they needed schematically that I just don't know are going to happen. We'll see, right? I would love to be proven wrong. I just that makes me nervous. And then Frank Reich, like kind of looking through, so he spent some time as an OC in for the Chargers, for the Colts, for the Eagles, I think for a year or two. He's had a couple good offenses when he's had good quarterback play, right? So when he had Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis and in the Chargers, he had good offenses. He had Andrew Luck for a year. They had like a top 5 offense. They had a good year with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, and then he's had a bunch of just like really bad stuff. Like Carson Wentz in Indianapolis was bad. Matt Ryan in Indy was bad. Most notably, Bryce Young in Carolina, his rookie year, he actually got fired because of how bad he was. And then he spent the last year at Stanford. He was the coach there over at Stanford, and they were god awful,
terrible.
That was, I mean, some of that's not his fault. Stanford doesn't do NIL. Quick little side tangent. So they just basically suck at college football now because they refuse to pay players, which, I mean, good for them on their morals, but they're not going to win any games. This doesn't make sense. The Jets aren't going to have a good quarterback. This feels like a disaster. This is like a Jets special, dude. It's like they never learn. I just don't understand this at all. And I'm like, thank God Breece Hall is a free agent. He can get out of town. Garrett Wilson scares me. I moved him down, I think 2 tiers today. Like that scares me, man. Bad quarterback play, bad offensive coordinator. The poor dude's got to get out of there. Like that's just, I want nothing to do with Garrett Wilson right now, and I feel bad because I think he's a good player, but like, man, that's just
terrible situation. Yeah,
horrible situation.
And I just think now I think there's better players, right? There's a lot more wide receivers, so it's easier to drop those guys down that don't have a good situation, right? And so I do think Breece Hall will be going somewhere else. Like I feel like that
I don't think
hiring Frank Reich was like the last nail in the coffin, right? I already felt like there wasn't a great relationship last year. And obviously I don't think, they're going to pay him. So I'm excited for Breece Hall to go somewhere. But we'll see. I would agree. I don't want anything to do with the Jets. It's kind of the norm. Usually we've been kind of overlooking that and still, figured, like Garrett Wilson would be fine. Mason Taylor would be fine, but nope. I'm worried.
Everyone sucks. It's not. Yep. Everything sucks and it's awful. Greg in the chat's like wish casting Breece Hall to Kansas City. It's funny, he almost went there. He almost got traded there.
He did
during the season. So maybe they pulled the trigger. I don't think they have the cap space, if I remember correctly. They have like one. I think they're like the worst. Yeah, they're negative 54 million. Some of that they can probably clear up. I think Travis Kelce is on the books for a little bit. They can clear that up, but like, I'm sure they can figure something out, but I don't know. We'll see. I think they're more likely to draft someone personally, but we'll see. Alrighty, let's get into some of these prospects. So first up, we have Casey Concepcion. I'll just kind of set a little bit of the stage, and then Holler, I'll get your take. So he's a wide receiver. He started his career at North Carolina State. He was awesome as a true freshman. Tailored off huge his sophomore year. Yardage basically got cut in half. Targets went down, but NC State was kind of a mess. Some of that was him. Some of it was just the program in general. Transfers to Texas A&M, has a nice bounce back year. He is an early declare. I know we talked about NIL guys. He decided to come out, which good for him. Listed at 5'11", 190, so he is definitely on the smaller side for a wide receiver. Generally speaking, too, like if he's listed at 190, I question what his actual playing weight is. And then, but like some guys like him, right? So Daniel Jeremiah has him at 32 on his top 50 list. Jeremiah, we talked about before. He's usually a pretty good like evaluator, like of talent. Mock drafts, just kind of looking at where he's been going. I see pretty popular, like 26 to the Bills, 27 to San Francisco. I saw 130 to the Broncos, which I thought was kind of interesting. There's a 24 to Cleveland, basically kind of that back end of the first round. It's kind of where he's being drafted. I think he'll go there because I think there's a lot of wide receiver needy teams in that range. But before I talk too much, Holler, what are your thoughts on Concepcion?
Yeah, so I like him a lot, right? But yes, you said it, smaller guy, right? Very compact. So, I think with the bigger thing is like he's a burner, right? He's very fast.
Mhm.
But I just feel like that's like his only thing, right? He just, if he doesn't burn you, doesn't go past the defender, he's not the type of guy that's going to really help you, right? And so,
Mhm.
he's mainly just plays on the outside. He can play a little bit in the slot, but not very well, right? And so he's got, I like him, but my issue is that he's very one dimensional, right? And so
Mhm.
it's going to limit his uh like fantasy output in my opinion. So, but I still think he may end up landing on a good spot. I really hope it wouldn't be the Browns. San Francisco, I think, would be fun. They could use a little bit of speed, right? So I think, when I think of Casey Concepcion, I think of just explosive plays, right? Think about like JMO in the first year. Just he's going to
Yeah.
get you maybe 80 yards and a touchdown, maybe once every 4 games. But
Yeah.
the other games he'll probably get you maybe 2 for 20 or something like that, right? But so I still think he's still firmly in the first round for rookie drafts, and I think for me he's probably wide receiver 4, right? I probably like
Yeah.
I can't put him over Tyson, but I'm not going to have much Tyson. But I think Tyson is a much more complete wide receiver, but I have a lot of injury concerns there. So my biggest concern with Concepcion is just that one-dimensional player that's just a burner, right? And so he's got to land on the right spot and the right team. But I think there's the possibility there.
Yeah, I think for me, he's gonna end up being my wide receiver 5. I feel like I know he's gonna go higher than the guy I have at 4. It's Elijah Surratt out of Indiana. I just have more
Yeah.
confidence that he's a better player. I know Concepcion's probably gonna go in the first round. Surratt's probably gonna be more of a second round guy. I just have more confidence in it. But um, just to get into some of the Concepcion numbers, obviously he had 2 really good seasons and the one bad one. I know I hear this happens every time we have a wide receiver that goes in the first round. He did never hit 1,000 receiving yards in college. That is a bit of a red flag. This is the one that scared me a little bit. His profile is eerily similar to Matthew Golden. Their Fez scores were within a tenth of a point of each other. Golden also had that never hit 1,000 yards in college thing, and it just kind of like scored a lot of touchdowns, but was kind of hit or miss there. It's just a red flag. It's not like this guy's gonna be bad because he's similar to this guy. It's just man, it made me raise an eyebrow and it gave me some pause.
Yeah.
On some good things, right? Like his receptions per route run is at 17%, so that's really good. He had 2 seasons averaging over 7 yards after the catch. Like he's an absolute demon after the catch, which you love to see. And some of those fast guys, I mean, you hope, right? Because they don't offer much else. Other thing that's nice to see, like he had his target distribution was kind of all over the field, right? It wasn't just like behind the line of scrimmage or like short yardage stuff. Like he had 20% of his targets came 20 plus yards downfield. Another quarter of those were kind of an intermediate route. So I think he can kind of work all levels of the field, which is nice. You like to see he's not quite so like one dimensional. Um, yeah, man. So I mentioned that he's a demon after the catch, right?
Yeah.
He's a good route runner. He has a smaller frame, but he does try to play bigger, I think. But like he's still just he needs to put some weight on. One thing that is big. He's a really good punt returner.
Yeah, I was
Like
going to say that too.
he is just a monster actually. So if you play in any return yard leagues, that's the kind of guy. If you play in any kind of league that offers like return yardage, I will take him like middle of the first round because I think he's going to be awesome there. And then it's like whatever he does as a receiver is just kind of a bonus. I had another thought and I just lost my train of thought talking about his punt returning. But speaking of punt returning, though, like my comp for him was Jaden Reed, which
Yeah, that's who I
probably
thought too. Yeah,
which probably doesn't bode super great for him,
yeah.
right? Like I think we just comped him to 2 Packers wide receivers in the matter.
Yeah.
Of 2
I
minutes.
have other guys when I looked it up, right? They like Butte came around. I was like, no, that I don't see that one.
I don't
very
see that.
much.
Butte's bigger.
Yeah.
And
That's
well,
that's what I thought
yeah.
too. So I think really I've said this before. Comps I think are kind of silly, but I do like the one of Jaden Reed, right? I think that's kind of the player he could be,
Mhm.
right? I think Jaden Reed's a little bit better being, more of the main focal guy. But yeah, I think the best at Concepcion is like a wide receiver too. But there are flashes there, right? With the punt
Yeah.
return, right? He's gonna be a guy that's gonna help out right away, And then I think one thing though that I worry with is like he really is gonna have to go to a team that with a very good quarterback, right? Because he doesn't adjust well, right? And so he can get those contested catches, right? But he just does
Mhm.
not really like like his routes are not very varied, right? So
Yeah.
there's not much, it's not much tempo, not much like setup, right? It's just go. And so that's where when you get to the NFL, you got to get to beat a guy. You can't just run fast.
Yep. Yeah. I think he does well against like zone in some sense, but like some of the cons on him, right, is like he really struggled with like physical corners. If you
Yeah.
have defenders, and like that's the thing, like in college, you don't always have defenders and like corners that are willing to like match his speed, and they kind of get scared away, and like so he'll eat that up. But like I was just looking like his stat line against some of the better defenses he played, like against
Yeah.
Notre Dame this year. He was 4 for 82. He had one catch for 45 yards, so like that was half of his yardage. Against Florida, he was 4 for 46. Against let's see, Texas, he was 5 for 57 in the college football playoffs. He was against Miami, who went to the national championship game. He was 4 for 33. Like he basically, when they played good defenses, he got shut down, which is concerning, right? Like you don't you don't love to see that. Like he lit up some of the bad teams they played and kind of padded some of his stats. Like he had, 2 of his 9 touchdowns were against Utah State. He had another one against UTSA. Like he lit up some of these bad teams to kind of pad the stats. But like when the defenses could match some of his athleticism, he was only okay. So I think someone's gonna overdraft him. I think in the first round of the NFL draft, and
Yeah.
then if he goes to like Buffalo, for example, and he's playing with Josh Allen, someone's gonna be like, "Hey, dude, that's gonna be
Yeah.
fantastic." And I guarantee you, he's gonna go up to like 106 because people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's playing with Josh Allen." I would urge you to resist the temptation there. I don't think he's the player you think he's going to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Like for
Another
me,
thing. Oh, go ahead.
that's a perfect example, right? Buffalo doesn't really draft wide receivers and make them better, right? They have to
Yeah.
be really good out of the gate. And Concepcion, the pieces are there, but they need to mold them a little bit more, right? So he needs to go to a team
Mhm.
that can work with him and make him better, right? I think he needs to go to a team with a proven wide receiver one that he can kind of learn from. If that doesn't happen, if they want him to come in, you're thinking about Cleveland, you're thinking about Buffalo, like they're going to need a wide receiver one right away. That situation, I don't think is going to be very good for him. And I just don't think he's going to end up, disappearing quite a bit.
The only place I see like in the first round is looking at that I think he would do well in. Actually, there's 2 places. One is with the Rams. I think he would. I think Puka and Devontae Adams could kind of teach him
Yeah.
some things. And then also I think Seattle, I think he would do well there too.
Yeah.
With JSN, right? I think those are 2 of the places. I don't know. There's a lot of landmines though. There's like, I mean, we mentioned that Cleveland picks at 24. Don't like that. Buffalo at 26. San Francisco at 27 is another one that's I think is a red flag in that like
Yeah.
some of the wide receivers they've drafted, I think they get too much credit. Like they haven't been all that great. Like Pierce Hall's been kind of a bust. Ayuk had a nice, year or two, but he's largely been ineffective, right? Like Debo was great, but that
Yeah.
was before Shanahan got there. Um, I don't know, man. Like
Yeah.
it
No,
just
I
it
mean,
makes me nervous.
yeah, that's exactly where I feel like we're just kind of crapping on the guy a little bit, but man, I just feel like he needs to go to the perfect team with a great setup, and there's not many of them, right? And so I don't
Yeah.
see the Rams taking him uh, on with their earlier pick, and I don't know if he'll be there with their later pick. So
Yeah, I don't either, and none of the other situations really give me too much like confidence.
Steelers, I think,
Maybe,
would be fine, right? I mean, DK will take away a little bit, but I still
yeah,
don't think DK is that wide receiver one guy that I'm thinking about that he needs to kind of look up to. So I think that's more saying more to
Are you
him than
saying
anything.
DK
Like,
Metcalf isn't a role model? That's weird.
so that's my worry, right? And so the if you look at the numbers and things like that, it's kind of a lot of up and down, and I think
Yeah,
he's still got room that he's got to grow and learn. And
Yeah.
you know,
The other thing is like if Dallas doesn't re-sign George Pickens, like that one could make sense at
yeah,
20.
I think
We'll see.
that would be like a great situation, right? So I
Yeah.
think some of these players now that we're getting into, right? These are a lot of these guys are going to be they could be good, but if they land on like some of the
Maybe.
landmines we said, you know, uh-oh.
The other thing I wanted to call out on Concepcion before we move on, just one last nugget of a red flag. He has a really high drop percentage.
Yeah.
Like he has some concentration drops that do show up often. It's almost like he's trying to figure out where he's going to go with the ball before he catches it. He had 2 seasons of over 10% like of
Yeah.
his targets drop, which is not awesome, right? Like
Yeah. So
that's
for me, he's
sorry.
just trying to go too fast, right? And just like, all right, where can I go run to next? And like, boom, turn your head too
Yeah.
fast and you drop the ball, right? So it's another one. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like we just said don't touch Casey Concepcion, but I think
Like
he can be a good fantasy player, but he's got to land on the
there's
I
just
don't know if I want to say perfect, but he's
it's
got to land on a really good spot.
That's the thing, like, I like Concepcion, like, I liked him when he broke out as a freshman in
Yeah.
2023. He has really good things about him, it's just, like, I could see this go wrong so easily, right? And we've
Yep.
seen some of this profile of, like, a kind of a smaller wide receiver, a faster wide receiver that just maybe doesn't run the best routes, maybe drops some balls here or there, like, they don't always pan out, right? Like, some of
Yeah.
these guys, like, they just are good because they were faster than everyone else in college, and, like, that's not always the case when they get to the NFL.
Yep.
I do think there are situations where this could go right, but like he's one that I'm really nervous to see, and I think he's going to go higher than I want to take him
Yeah.
in rookie draft, so I'll probably end up with not a lot of shares. Um,
Yep. And if you're listening or watching, hold that to us, right? Because I think we did something similar with Matthew Golden, and then he
yes.
lit up the draft combine, and we were
Oh,
like, all right, I'm back in, right?
he
But
ran that 4.29, and my eyes got wide, and I said,
yeah, I
"Draft. That's me.
but
That's mine."
I think I'm just gonna be a bit more picky.
I am too. I think I'm gonna yes. So I'm gonna stick to my guns on this one. Um,
Doesn't
so
get much
now that
better. Let me tell you
doesn't
that.
yes, now that we dumped on Concepcion, I'll show you dumping on someone real quick. Ty Simpson, quarterback for Alabama, listed at 6'2", 208. I thought he was bigger than that. So I'm curious to see what he actually measures in at. Like if he's more like 6'1", like 202, that's a bit of a red flag. That's so Daniel Jeremiah, he came in at 40 on his top 50 list, which is good. DJ's mock, did he go in that mock?
I
I
think
don't
he
think he
did.
did. Did he? Let's see. I got it up. I don't see him on here. So I think he'll end up in the first round just because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams, and I think someone's going to take him, right? Someone's going to take a shot on him in the first round. My thought, well, why don't you talk about Ty Simpson first before I don't want to
I
jump on him, but I'm going to.
I I don't know how to. So I think there are some pieces there, but I just don't know if he can be a NFL quarterback, right? If you guys thought I was
Yeah.
worried about, I don't know who I was worried about last year, but like Jackson Dart, I was kind of questioning. Like this is even
Cam
worse,
Ward.
right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, I didn't want to put Cam Ward in that because I had much more faith in Cam Ward than I do in Ty
Sure.
Simpson, right? I mean, if you just watch them this year, very up and down, right? It just if you
Yeah.
cannot stand out in college, I don't know if you're going to be able to, make it in the NFL, which obviously there's been plenty of times where that's been shot down. But if there are question marks at the college level and they're pretty big, glaring question marks,
Mhm.
I just worry. Right. And so I think for me, yes, he probably will get drafted in the first round. He may end up being a starter for a little bit of time, but for me, he's just a gap, like a bridge guy, right? That whoever's there is either going to lose their job or, they're just waiting till, free agency or something.
Yeah. So let me. All right. So let me just kind of paint the picture of what I see from his analytic profile before I even get into what I saw when I watched him. Um, 1 year starter. He was at Alabama for 4 years. He only started 1 year. 1 year starters. have almost never panned out. Like they almost always struggle. I'm thinking like Anthony Richardson. I'm thinking Trey Lance. I'm thinking, um, who was the one recently that came out? I'm blanking on a name, but like a lot of these guys who, if they don't play multiple years in college, a lot of times they really struggle right in the NFL. They don't make the leap. Some of the things from the profile stands out. Fumbles, a crap ton. He lost 7 fumbles at Alabama. Um, also the deep ball is very concerning. Some of his deep ball throws he was pretty horrendous, actually, which is really weird because the offense they run is the same offense that Michael Penix and like Roma Dunze and those guys ran at Washington. And it's just not good, right? Like he was under 50% completions, 20 plus yards downfield. He threw 3 interceptions. Turnover worthy play rate was up at about 7% on those. Like and his completion percentage was like 42% on deep balls. His adjusted completion percentage was at 45%, which isn't much better. So like it was his fault, not the receivers. Essentially, is what that tells me. Dude, he's only an okay athlete, so he's not like a really good runner. He does okay. He really struggled against the blitz. His numbers against the blitz were pretty horrendous, right? In terms of like first downs picked up, his turnover worthy plays on against the blitz were pretty bad. The one positive, he did not turn the ball over a ton, like throwing the ball at least. Like he only threw 5 interceptions, and 2 of those were against Western Carolina or like Western Illinois on like one of their, the SEC takes a week off every year where they play some FCS school and just whatever. I'm guessing the preparation wasn't great that week, and he was just kind of hucking the ball around. His analytic comp, which is funny, because they both played at Alabama, is Bryce Young.
Oh gosh.
He feels like if he's Bryce Young that's less talented is the way I see him, which doesn't paint a great picture.
Yeah.
Dude.
So I think I found either the tweet or whatever you were looking at, but QBs with 15 or fewer college starts. So that's 1 year, right?
Yeah.
The 3 of them were Anthony Richardson, Mitchell Trubisky, and Dwayne Haskins.
Trubisky and Haskins. I was thinking, okay.
Yeah. So for me, like that's not a good group, right?
That is not a good group.
And for me, I just feel like 15 starts is not enough, right? Clearly, if you couldn't, I understand there's a lot of good players that go to Alabama, but man, only so many players go into the NFL. So for me, it's just that he's going to get overdrafted. He's going to go to the Jets or the Steelers. And like I said, he will be if he goes to the Jets, all right, well then Aaron Glenn's probably going to lose his job at the end of the year. We already saw earlier today, Frank Reich, like that's not a good match, right? And so, I just don't see him being a usable NFL quarterback, right? Even if he does get overdrafted, I just think there's lack of QB talent in this draft, and I think after Mendoza, there's not many other players, and so he's just going to get pushed up into the first round.
The only one I could talk myself into quarterback wise after Mendoza is if Trinidad Chambliss comes out and gets drafted in like the early second round of the NFL draft. I could kind of squint and because he's at least a better athlete. Ty Simpson's just like it's not good. And what's weird too about like him being a first year starter, like usually those guys like they kind of get better as the year goes on. He was the opposite. He actually played some of his best football early in the season. Like against Wisconsin, he threw for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had a really good game on the road at Georgia and like his 4th career start. Almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then like towards the end of the year, they played Oklahoma and he, had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He played against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Like he was like barely hit 50% completion percentage against Georgia in the conference championship game. Like he barely squeaked out 200 passing yards against Indiana. That was if anyone watched in the Rose Bowl, like that was a nightmare. And they got down early and he was throwing and it was bad. I think he threw for 67 yards in that game. Now, I know Indiana won the national championship, but still, like, that's not okay. That's not what you want out of a guy that doesn't exactly scream NFL ready quarterback to me.
Yep.
Some of the good things before I just dump on him completely. He has a quick release. Like I said, he protected the ball. He only had 5 interceptions, almost like 400 pass attempts. Almost 500 pass attempts, So that's pretty good. I think he had good accuracy in kind of the short to medium throws. The deep throws, a little bit needs some work. Some of the bad things, right? I mentioned he's a fumble machine. Really inconsistent play. Only 1 year starter. I think he held onto the ball. He had one of the highest time to throw metrics in all of college football this past season. And then I think he's a little bit more undersized. I thought he was bigger than he was, kind of watching him, but like his measurements came in a lot smaller, which is a little concerning. Um, Man, for me, he feels like a firm, like I'm not gonna draft him. But where
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah.
Are you kind of on the same boat?
Yeah, no, I mean, I cannot, right? I mean, there could be a spot that he's sitting there like in the middle of the second round, but I just don't have any, if I think back to other years, like, okay, Jackson Dart, I would have easily taken him in the second round. I'm like, I can see him having some, athleticism. He can run the ball.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that with Ty Simpson, right? And it's just very, very concerning with the up and down games. Like, you would think after, maybe week 4 when he had a really good game against, I think you said it was Georgia, and like, man, it just went downhill from there, right? And so it's tough for me. I try to stay away from those players. So I really feel like if you need a quarterback this offseason, move your picks for one, right? An old a veteran, or I do think once we get closer to draft time, those quarterbacks are going to be a little more pricey, because you can't just get a new one in the rookie draft this year. So I would do it now versus before more people find out, okay, this QB class isn't very good, right? So, but yeah, after Mendoza, there's a lot of question marks, and like I think there's a lot of Ty Simpson, right? Mediocre player, maybe on a great situation he can be okay, but I just think he's a backup at best.
The only situation that I can talk myself into potentially drafting him is if the Rams have 2 first-round picks. I know you're not gonna like this, but if they draft him and they sit him behind Matthew Stafford for a year, and he can learn under Matthew Stafford, they can learn Sean McVay's offense, he can learn from Puka and Devontae Adams, and kind of take a little bit of time to just like learn the offense, learn the NFL. And then he comes in as a starter in 2027. That is the only that's like the path I can see to him being like a good player in the NFL and like making it, and not just like he might just be a career kind of backup as like maybe he'll come in as like a spot starter every once in a while.
That's the situation
he's like a Mac Jones maybe, like, which is funny. All the comps that I came to my head, maybe it's just lazy just watching them put in the Alabama helmet, are all Alabama guys. But man, I just don't like it. I don't think he's very good.
Agreed.
All right, we're not to beat a dead horse here. Someone I do like, Jadarian Price, and I know people are going to be like, "What? Mix Mankey likes a Notre Dame player? Surprising."
Notre Dame and Oregon.
Yeah, apparently, dude. Those are the only prospects I like. All right, he's 5'11", 210. Finally, running back with some size. He came in at 43 on Daniel Jeremiah's initial top 50 list. He didn't go in the first round of his mock draft, which isn't surprising, right? I don't think he will. Some of what he is as a runner, right? He always was kind of the 1B at Notre Dame. He happened to play with Jeremiah Love, which, it is what it is. I think if he had gone pretty much anywhere else, he would have been probably the starter, but he played behind the best running back in college football. What are you going to do? Even still, like he had 11 touchdowns this past year as a runner. He does have a bit of a fumbling problem. I will say that, just kind of a heads up. What you get with him though, really fast, a lot of like breakaway, like home run plays. He rather runs through people rather than like a make you miss kind of a deal. He has one of the best average yards after contact in the entire class, and since the 2021 when I started tracking like Fez scores, he's been one of the better aspects in that. The thing you won't get though, receiving work is like non-existent. He had 18 total targets basically in his entire college career. So like receiving work is, and what's funny is that like he scored, I think it was like 3 receiving touchdowns, and I think it's just because defenses were like, well, you don't have to cover this dude because he's not going to get the ball. So there is that. What are your thoughts on Jadarian Price? Am I on an island here, or What do you like?
No, I like Jaden Price, but he is a very specific running back, right? So
Mm-hmm.
think about, like you already said, bigger running back. He's going to run through people, so kind of think about, I know this is kind of not a great name, but like Raheem Mostert, right? Bigger running back that's just going to
Yeah,
kind of
that's
run
not,
into people. I know that's not a
that's
great
the name I
comp,
had
but
too. Yeah.
that's I think kind of who he is. But that doesn't mean he can't be a good usable fantasy asset, right? I think he's going to be like a 1B to 1A. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think about like a Tyler Algier. I'm not saying they're the same type of player, but he played pretty well behind Bijan, right? Same type of thing is what I think
Yeah.
about. So he can be a really, really good comp to another running back that's a little quicker, a little more a pass catching running back, and then you put him in there, and he's gonna take the third down, red zone stuff, because he's just pounded in. And so for me, I think it will depend kind of when he goes, right? Because I think there's still a lot up in the air anywhere,
Yeah.
between the second and maybe fourth round even. But I think there is, that home run speed is something that I think for fantasy, that's what we covet a little bit. So I think he's still somebody that you're gonna have to take a shot at in the first round, in my opinion, of
Yeah, and
rookie
I mean,
drafts.
we talk about this a little bit, like when before we started our rookie like prospect previews, just kind of like in general, it was like running backs who don't go like in the first round or maybe don't get like the top 50 draft capital, like they need to do something kind of special to stand out to earn their like role. And I think his is he's a home run hitter, like he can legitimately take any touch to the house, kind of like that Raheem Mostert. And Raheem Mostert too, I know people are gonna be like, well, whatever, but he had some moments where he won you some leagues a couple of years in San Francisco. He had that one really great year in Miami. Like he had moments, right? The other thing with JD Price is that he returns kicks. He's a great kick returner. I think he had 2 or 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year at Notre Dame. I think he had a couple more the previous season. So like he's an asset on special teams, which is big because that will mean he will make the 53-man roster. I think his projected draft capital is all over the place.
Yes.
I've seen him as high as like kind of top of the second round, and I've seen him as low as like he's kind of like in the 80s, 90s of the third round. I've seen him maybe go like slip into the fourth. I think someone's gonna look at his speed, especially if he tests well at the combine, and they'll take him in the second round. I just kind of have a sneaky suspicion just because the running back class isn't that great to begin with. And I think someone will say, you know what, let's take a shot on this guy. Some of the pros, right? I mentioned it. Physical runner, long speed is fantastic. Good kick returner. I think he has really good vision. I think he has good patience behind the line of scrimmage too. Some of the warts, right? Like he was never a feature back. Receiving work's non-existent. Sometimes he dances around the line of scrimmage, and sometimes too, like he knows he's faster than everyone else, and he'll bounce some runs outside when he should just kind of hit the hole and get
Yeah.
upfield. Um, Man, is he so for me, he's my running back 2 in this class. Is he your running back 2, or do you have guys like Jonah Coleman or like Emmett Johnson or some of those guys kind of ahead of him?
Yeah. As of today, I have him and Emmett Johnson right next to each other, right? I need
Okay.
to spend a little more time and get a secondary update or get a second update to my. But yeah, I think as of today, if I'm moving, I'm going to move him up to as number 2, right? And I just think you can drop him in as a 1B and he will be usable already, right? And even I think he could be a
Yeah.
1A if for think about like the Cardinals, or even think about the Chiefs, right? They have a early pick in the earlier pick than they're used to. They're not going to obviously take him in the first round, but I think that's a perfect guy for them in the second or third round, right? And so that
Mhm.
would be like a dream. So I was looking at the mock draft database, and obviously with him being not in the first round, he's not there a ton. But the Chiefs popped up multiple times, the Vikings popped up a couple times,
Mhm.
and then even the Dolphins popped up, and I thought those 3 spots like
Hmm.
would be good, right? I know we wouldn't love that for Miami, but I think he would be a good compliment to Achan, right?
You'd be the
Because
new
they do
Mostert.
things, yeah, they do things way, way differently. And I didn't even think about that before I said Miami, but that's perfect. That's exactly it, right? And so there's a lot of spots that he could go to, that I think he would still be pretty darn good, right? So just talking about it, I think he is the second best running back in this class.
Yeah, I think he is too. I think he just does a lot of things really well. I think for like a fantasy perspective, I think he's gonna be like you're not gonna want him as like an RB2, but I think he can be like a flex starter for you. I think he'll,
Yeah.
and especially if in return yard leagues, like yeah, he's gonna be awesome. I would draft him probably middle-ish of the first round in those leagues, assuming he gets, second round, maybe early third round draft capital. 'Cause I think he's gonna house a couple kicks. Um, I
I think all our
think
leagues just need to convert to kick returning. Sounds like we got a
apparently,
lot of
dude,
good kick returners this year.
we got some good returners this year, dude. We got, Jadarian Price, Concepcion.
Yeah.
There's that kid out of Iowa,
Yep.
Caden Wetjen. He's gonna suck as a receiver, but like that dude can fly.
I mean,
Um,
Shamir Dyke, we didn't know who he was, and then boom, he
yeah,
blew up, right? Just because of
yeah. And
return.
who's that? Who's that kid from Miami? Was it Miles Price? And I
Oh,
think and he didn't
in
play
the
a single
beginning, yeah.
receiving snap, dude. But like he returned kicks like nobody's business. So we'll see. I think he's another one too. Like once we get past these first few guys, it's like, all right, what are we gonna do for is their landing spot basically going to dictate where they get drafted? Right now, I kind of have them in like that 109, 110, 111 range in rookie drafts, but like that could go up or down. Like if
Oh
he
yeah.
gets, like, let's say Kansas City drafts him in the early second round, he'll probably jump up to like closer to 107, 106, right? I'll probably overdraft him myself. I
I mean,
know there's spots in like Pittsburgh I think would make a lot of sense as a runner. They need someone to kind of pair with Jalen Warren. Um,
I do think
Jacksonville, if ETN leaves, him and Bashal Tootin could complement each other nicely. Um, Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I do think if you think about Jalen Warren, you're like, wait a second. I feel like him and Jadarian Price are built the same way. And yes, maybe they are, but they do different things, right? They do things
Yeah.
very differently. So I saw Pittsburgh on there once or twice, and yeah, I agree that would be a nice spot. But like if you're looking at the back end of the first, right? I mean, I we
Yeah.
both have Denzel Boston there. I'm gonna go with Jadarian Price over him. Elijah Surratt, maybe I think I'd go, depending on landing spot there. You know, Ty Simpson is in the first round for me right now, but he'll drop down. And the other running backs, Jonah Coleman, Singleton, Nicholas Singleton, Emmett Johnson, like, man, I don't know. So, I do feel good about Jadarian Price, but I like Nick Singleton was so good, but man, the last year he was bad. So I just
Yeah. Well, and he has a
there's a
broken
lot
ankle
more.
now too. So
Yeah, there's
that's
just a lot
disappointing.
more question marks with the other running backs, in my opinion.
If I told you that Jadarian Price and Zach Charbonnet has the exact same Fed score, would that excite you or make you sad?
You're asking the wrong person, but yes, that would excite me. I am not like I I am on the side that I think Ken Walker is better, but for some reason, Charbonnet can just get the ball in the end zone when they need him to. But no, yeah, if Jadarian Price could be Charbonnet, that would be awesome, right? But
Yeah.
that's the exact type of running back that I think he will be, right?
I think he's
Um,
just a faster Charbonnet,
yes,
honestly.
yeah. Charbonnet is kind of
Which
slow.
isn't a
Yes.
bad thing. It sounds like it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's a bad
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
sounds
yeah,
bad when you say it, but like,
if you could get some speed to Charbonnet, woo, he'd be good.
yeah, right?
Very good.
It's like if you morph Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, you get
Yeah.
Jadarian Price as a love baby. Um, Anyways, I think on that note, we should probably get out of here.
Yep. We're
Did you have, yeah, we're off the rails. Did you have any last like parting thoughts on any of these rookies? I know we kind of had. I know this is like it. My kind of thought is like, so we covered some of the top guys, and now we're getting into like kind of the next like batch of them, and you can see the talent level drops off significantly. There's guys that you're gonna like or not like, but like it starts getting a little dicier, right? There's a lot more, like there's some red flags. Like you're gonna have to try to like weed through some of these guys and hope you hit the right one. It's kind of my
yeah.
my takeaway, but
And mine is that I just think we talked about in the beginning, right? The landscape of college football is changing quite a bit. We're just going to
Mhm.
have to get much more picky. And I think the landing spot, I know that always has taken precedent, but I think it is going to be extremely important now with some of these guys that are not well rounded athletes that are I should say well-rounded football players because they're all great athletes. But like
Yeah.
not these people that are running backs or players that are coming in and ready to just be, home run threats, right? I think now there's a lot more to them that they need to keep working at it and get better. And so without good coaching, they're not going to get there.
Yep. So landing spot's going to be more important than ever.
Yep.
All right. That said, we will be back next week. We'll cover up some more prospects. Super Bowl's this weekend. We didn't even touch on
Let's
that.
go.
Super Bowl's this weekend. Should be a good game.
Yeah. Who do you got?
Maybe. Seattle. I think Seattle wins by 10+ points.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Seattle. I don't want them to win, but Seattle. I think
I think there's a better team.
I'm gonna say this wrong, but I think Mike McDonald is doing a really good job. So
he is
well deserved. And I think the Patriots are good, but that defense on the Seattle is just way too good. I think, I'm gonna go like 28-17.
Yeah, I got 24-10. So
I like it.
about the same. I think I kind of got to root for Seattle with Clint Kubiak potentially being the next Raiders head coach, but we'll see. I just hope it's a good game that's entertaining, right? Like,
yes.
I just hope both teams have fun. Everybody has a good time. All right. On that one, we will get out of here. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord. It's totally free. We chat a lot in there. Join the Patreon too. It means a lot. It helps us. We got a cool new site, a website that's gonna come out soon. It's really slick. It does a lot of cool things. I'll show a demo here and I'll put a video out here shortly. But
it's awesome.
It's gonna be pretty slick. Holler's been testing out. Some of the patrons have been helping me test it out too. Like it's pretty sick. But I'll show that in another video. For now, I'll stop rambling and we'll get out of here. Thanks everybody for joining, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.
See ya.